And now on Marcus Paul in the Morning, Senator Malcolm Roberts.
Malcolm, good morning to you, sir.
Good morning, Marcus. How are you?
Good. Where in the world are you today? You're always all over the shop, particularly north of the border. What's happening?
No, I'm actually in Canberra and enjoying the rain here.
There you go. Is it raining in Canberra this morning, is it?
Yeah, it's been raining yesterday, today. It's lovely. We've got some fantastic flower blossom around and walking through that. Nice rain.
All right, now let's get to business here. Now, you've negotiated some concessions for the government's uni bill. It will pass the Senate with your support and the Centre Alliance's support. So what's happening here?
Yeah, well, there are three thrusts in this. First of all, we commend the government for making the universities more to help the universities turn out more job-ready graduates, engineering, nursing, teaching, so rather than the humanities. So we like that. But we didn't think it went far enough, Marcus. So what we've got the government to add on is a 10% discount for people paying their fees up front, because that minimises the addition of the HECS debt, which is already at 65 billion and climbing. So it doesn't give anyone a free ride because the government will have the money earlier, so that's going to save the taxpayers money. The other thing we did is to get the universities to remove fee help for any students who are repeatedly failing, because we can't have the taxpayers just subsidising everyone all the time, even if they don't work. And the big one is that we have got a commitment from the government that they will make sure there are pressures on the universities for freedom of academic freedom.
Sure.
Because Peter Ridd and so on have really been a blight on the universities, suppressing academic freedom, just basically to get the data and the research out there.
Okay. All right. Well, that's good news. It'll give some, finally, once it passes the government's uni bill, it'll give, universities and those who wish to study and those that are currently studying a bit of closure on this whole issue. All right. We'll talk more about that soon. One Nation's response to the budget, what did you make of it? You say the government's printing money we don't have. The debt will rise to 1.7 trillion by 2030, and our great-grandkids will still be paying the thing off.
Yeah. Marcus, I'll just share with you, we can't know everything about the budget straight away. So I don't make comments unless I'm informed. So what I did last night was I invited a very, very good staffer from Pauline's office and a very good staffer from my office, and got them to make a presentation to us, to everyone in my team about the budget. And mate, I was really sad and concerned at the end of that presentation, because there's no infrastructure building. There's nothing that will last longer than the life of the budget. But the biggest thing that got me was that there are so many inconsistencies. When you add up all of the measures the Treasurer announced for creating jobs, we're going to be 50,000 people short of the number of people he's increased the jobs by. I mean, it just doesn't make sense. It doesn't add up. There are so many things that don't add up. And that's a really big concern, because what I'm noticing increasingly is that so many things coming out of Canberra are not based on data. They're just based on whims. And, the Prime Minister's been called Scotty from marketing. He's starting to become Scotty from announcements. They're making so many announcements, but there's no meat there. And it looks like a budget to me built by marketing people and people with limited production experience, because the key to improving manufacturing, they claim that they've got a manufacturing strategy. Well, I can't see that, because you can't have manufacturing in this country with high electricity prices. You can't have manufacturing without regular water. You can't have manufacturing without fair taxation system. We've got multinationals avoiding tax and not paying tax, and you can't have manufacturing revival with all the regulations that we've been pushing in, the red tape, the green tape, the blue tape. It just doesn't add up.
Yeah. All right. Well, look, again, you like crunching data, and you've had a good look at it. And look, absolutely, there's a lot of people who are suggesting that perhaps this is a budget that's designed to, keep the governments in place, and there's not much in it for people over 35. We've been discussing that this morning. There are, the Council on the Ageing, Ian Henschke from Seniors Australia. I mean, they're all bitterly disappointed. And then, of course, you've got the other issue when it comes to these wage subsidies that are in place for those under 35. Now, Malcolm, I receive countless emails from people in their 40s, 50s and 60s who tell me that they are worried about their future. There's ageism out there. And this announcement yesterday of subsidising $200 a week for anybody under the age of, 35 to get back to work. What older Australians are concerned about is that, well, as I received an email this morning, somebody's going to lose their gig. They've been told they'll finish up at the end of the week because they're going to be replaced by a subsidised worker.
Yes, and one of my staffer has had considerable experience in retail for many, many years and is a very good manager. And he straight away said, this will cause retailers to churn employment. They'll get rid of people above 35 and put on people below 30. It's that simple. He said, so I'm sad to say I think you're probably right, mate.
Yeah. Look, if I receive these kind of emails and correspondence from my listeners, I want to follow up on it. And that's something that I would hope that you and Pauline can talk about and put pressure on the government to at least to have a rethink about. But who knows?
Well, it's the stupidity, Marcus, of what's going on in our country.
Yeah.
There's the opposition leader in Queensland just yesterday announced a policy for giving $493 million scheme to subsidise electricity costs for manufacturing businesses if the LNP wins power.
Yeah.
What the hell are we going on with here? Because she's not lowering the cost of power, she's subsidising it. So they're jacking up with their, this will get you, this will get all your listeners. Every wind turbine, on average, costs the taxpayer an amount of $536,000 per turbine per year for 15-year contracts. Yeah. The current value of that for the I think it's about 2,000 turbines, for about the turbines in the 2,691 wind turbines in Australia today amounts to $21.6 billion in subsidies. Yeah. So we're adding costs to our electricity structure, and then the opposition leader, the LNP leader in Queensland, comes out and says we're going to give $500 million subsidy to offset that. We've got subsidies offsetting subsidies.
Are they printing
insane.
The stuff? Are they printing the stuff up there? They must be, eh?
I don't know what's in the water right now, but there's an election going on, but these people are lunatics. They're destroying... What they don't understand is that they're destroying the jobs and the and the livelihoods and the lifestyles of so many people. And Marcus, who the hell pays more for electricity percentage-wise of their income? The poor, the pensioners, the students, the people who can't afford it. These people sitting in their ivory towers, Scott Morrison, Anastasia Palaszczuk, Dev Frecklington, sitting there thinking they will just play with numbers and make announcements, make marketing slogans, when the people are paying the bill, because electricity is no longer a luxury. It is an essential.
Of course it is.
It's everyday life. And so we're expecting a highly regressive tax to be put on people on the low income. It's just absolutely cruel.
All right, and I agree, absolutely. Talk about this. Let's talk about this property rights forum. Farmers' property rights are being stolen without compensation to meet Kyoto Protocol. For the whole issue on climate change. We don't need to go through that all again, but there is a danger once a farmer finds out that this is being done, that there's nothing they can do about it. You need some compensation, restoration, surely.
Yes, what we've been saying is restoration or compensation. It's really simple, Marcus. We have a farmer in Queensland called Dan McDonald who has defended himself. He bought a property near Charleville, and he bought it because it had mulga on it, has mulga on it. That is drought-proof because mulga goes well in drought when the grass dies, and you can knock that over and you can feed your cattle, and cattle love it. It's good for cattle. Now, he was then, as a result of changes that were brought in by John Howard initially and the Nationals in the federal coalition in response to the United Nations Kyoto Protocol in 1996, they've introduced laws and subsequently introduced more laws in Queensland under Labor, but the Liberals started it with the Nationals, but Labor's really ramped it up. Dan McDonald was then criminally convicted of clearing land because he wanted to feed his cattle during a drought. And he bought that land unencumbered with nothing on it that would say that right to use his vegetation would be removed. But he's had his right to vegetation removed. He then appealed it, doing all this himself. A wonderful man, by the way. I've been in his house with his wife and kids. Wonderful man, solid. And he has appealed it, and they've basically reduced his fine from $116,000 to $10,000. They've removed the criminal conviction, but they've basically said, you haven't really done anything. That's the way we read the light sentence. But the law says that this must happen. So farmers have lost their right to use their property. Well, when you buy property, you have that right.
Well, of course, Malcolm. And at the end of the day, and I've spoken to so many farmers about this. And by the way, Farmer Bob, a regular listener, will very much enjoy your comments on due compensation. But, I mean, look, a farmer who buys their land, the last thing they want to do is destroy koala habitat. The last thing they want to do is destroy anything environmentally. But they do have the right to feed their livestock. Mate, I've got to go because I've got the news coming up. We will talk again next week, Malcolm. Thank you.
Okay, see you, Marcus.
There he is, One Nation Senator Malcolm Roberts, as always, talking some good sense on the program.